Wow, I see a couple people got haircuts for a while.
Yeah.
Doug is looking sleepy. Doug said I bun my hair off.
What? Oh. You're more bunny than me. I haven't gotten a haircut in like 3 weeks. I usually get it every week, and it's like really long right now. Yeah, Shaggy's right. Brian's in the waiting room, but I think he might have some trouble getting in because he's been like joining for a while. So I'm sure he will get here when he's able. I think there might be some technical difficulties potentially on his end because I clicked admit. But I'm excited to look at art with y'all. Yay!
So we're just going to go around the room if you haven't been here before, although a lot of y'all look familiar. We just share a name, our pronouns, a feeling, and a movement. Bunny, can I invite you to go first? I always love your movements.
Sure. My name is Bunny. My pronouns are they, them. I'm feeling excited and happy. And my movement, I'm going to rub my head because it feels good. Even though I need the haircut.
Who would like to go next?
I'll go next. I'm Giselle. My pronouns are she, they. Feeling a little tired, actually. And movement, just stretching.
Good movements. Who's next? I love it.
Hey, I can go. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Raquel.
Okay. Hi, my name is Raquel. My pronouns are she, they. I'm feeling tired. And it's rainy and cloudy and hot. So my movement is rubbing my face, trying to wake.
Hi there. My name is Doug, and my pronouns are he, him. I'm feeling curious to see what everybody has to say, and my movement will be wiggly arms.
Hi, my name is Zulfikar, and my pronouns are he, him. I'm feeling excited, and my movement is
Hi, I'm Alexia. My pronouns are she, her, but I'm okay with anything. And my feeling is a little spacey, apparently, because I forgot what the next thing I was supposed to say was. And my movement is, unlike Raquel, it is gorgeously sunny here. So I'm going to send some of that sun to all of you, and you can all soak up the sun.
Hello, my name is Brian. Pronouns he, him, or they, them. And how am I feeling? Well, considering I just tumbled out of bed a little over an hour ago and haven't had my coffee yet, I'm still just trying to wake up. And for my movement today, it's an impersonation of Bunny. They always do that. It's just so cute.
I don't realize I do that so much, and then people like point it out to me, and I'm like, oh, I do.
Hi, I'm Ron, he, him. My feeling is, I guess, not quite warm enough, and my movement is usually comatose.
I think is that everybody but Lior?
I think that's everybody.
I'll do one. Hi, I'm Rory. My pronouns are they, them. My feeling is sleepy. And my movement is I want to be a snail.
What a cozy animal. I love that. Ready to go? Ready to see some eyes?
Yeah. Do it. So as you can see on the screen, oh, go ahead.
You got it.
As you can see, this is an uncensored art space. All bodies and body parts have potential to be present. We invite you to sit with discomfort if it comes up while tending to yourself as needed, such as turning your camera off, focusing on your breath, taking a few minutes away, whatever you need to feel comfy and safe. So excited to see art.
So this first piece is from Kelsey.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at the participants list, it doesn't look like they're here, although they did check the box that they would be in attendance. So maybe we'll do the thing where we give it 3 minutes and then invite the audience to share if they don't end up popping up in the attendance list.
Sure. Does anyone want to speak to maybe what they think is happening in this piece? And how it relates to femininity?
I would like to say one thing. I'm gonna take a guess that these are flowers or flowers in a vase. And since I recently had this conversation with my boss as far as subtlety versus overt, the reference point being George O'Keeffe's work of subtle femininity or vulva being shown through flowers. I wonder if they're making a similar likeness here with the flowers and femininity.
I really love the types of strokes that they used to make the roses. Their strokes are really lovely.
Yeah, the textures are amazing in this piece, and the colors are good too. And I agree. I think the flowers represent subtle femininity there.
I'm with you on the texture. It makes me want to like touch it.
I think more so than the flowers, the texture and also the way that there's sort of like an iridescent aspect to the blue pigment and the way that it's sort of like shining through these like purpley, almost magenta areas, and those colors make me think of like what it is to be a birthing body and a body that's capable of carrying life, and how that has been associated with femininity for so long. And just sort of like, yeah, I feel like that's where I sort of see it happening, because I think of like what happens when you have kids and the way that it adds like so much texture, and like almost like bark on a tree. Like it adds so much like texture to the body that wouldn't otherwise exist. Yeah, and so that's, I know that there's other things in here, like it looks like there's highlights of something that might be like a breast shape on this vase or something. There might be a moment, like a bralette moment happening. I'm not really sure. Maybe else see that? Yeah, cool. Okay.
Yeah, I
that's
do. I was thinking like a womb, actually, like the bottom part actually sort of reminds me of like that. I don't want to say darkness, but you know, like the space when you're in the womb, and then like the gold represents sort of like the placenta of like life, and then like the flower top for me is like it coming into the world. That's what I see in there. But
I love that. Yes, Gazelle. Thank you for picking up on that. I definitely I see that in the pattern work and the textures. It's like the marbling of a belly, or like the inside of a membrane.
yeah.
Any final thoughts? I think it's been 3 minutes on our time. So
I have one thing I wanted to say about this piece. When I first saw it, it looked like it's like the way it's painted, it looks like it's a blanket, like it's imprinted on fabric or something. And that was my first take on it. Maybe it's because there's like a blanket or something in the background there, but I see this. My first impression was, oh, this looks like a very nice printed blanket, and it's with all the flowers and all that. Just because of the way the texture looks to me.
Raquel typed into the chat that they're curious on the bottom strokes, like are they roots or sunbeams, and that they're intrigued.
Oh, like the yellow and the it looks like blue, but it might be light coming off of that part of it, the bottom half. I love that it could be either. That's so cool. Shall we move to the next slide? Thank you, Lior, for your timekeeping. You're amazing.
Oh, Lior, that was worth waiting for, huh?
it really was. Look at this.
All right. Well, it seems like flower power, pun intended, seems to be the theme. I shot this photo just this past Tuesday. I was just on, I was taking my, it was a very nice day. I was taking my first walk without wearing a mask. So I was in very good spirits. And as I was walking by this bush, and I was thinking, oh my goodness, we're talking about femininity this weekend. And this photo really speaks of femininity to me. Because two reasons really. First of all, just growing up in the arts and literature, women have always been compared to flowers, and because of the appearance of flowers. And second of all, um, another thing growing up too was just hearing like the women talking about flowers or planting or what they were going to be doing for this spring, summer's planting and all that. And it's always was talking about flowers. So since it was only women that were talking about flowers, instant association. Plus, this also kind of reminds me of these speckles here also remind me of a dress pattern that I would see too. And one more thing, I think it's about femininity, especially when it comes to flowers. It kind of relates to what we were talking about with the last piece. This does kind of look like in the center, kind of does look like a labia in many ways. That's even more so when if you see certain types of orchids, for example. And this is I'm not sure what type of plant or flower this is, but the but it just really kind of reminded me like of like the labia part, and that's what really struck me. Oh, azalea, thank you, Bunny. And yeah, and in closing on this, I was also thinking about some of Bunny's presentations last year on ecosexuality, and I know there and and I know and I kind of associate that with femininity as well. You know, the whole Gaia principle of the earth as a living organism. So that's kind of my takeaway on that.
Does anybody want to share their experience with this piece and how you see it relating or not relating to femininity, right? You're also allowed to disagree with any of our proclamations as we go. Doug says really great photo. I do love this scalloping that's happening on the edges of the petals. It's always a really soothing, like watery, cooling pattern to see.
I love that they appear to be in the shape of a heart.
Oh yes. Yeah, I didn't see that. Thanks for pointing that out, Rory.
So cute.
I can imagine myself as a bee being like, ooh, these are pretty flowers that I want to go and like buzz around and get all the nectar and the pollen. Yeah, I can definitely imagine me being a bee. And there's this book I'm reading, if any of y'all saw the live that I did with Lior the other day, this book is talking about all kinds of like queerness in nature. And I don't think azaleas do this, but there are some plants that like change their sex throughout the day. Like some plants are male in the morning and female in the afternoon. And I just think that that's amazing. So I love thinking that like maybe this is a feminine plant and maybe it's a masculine plant. Could be either.
I like the bell shape because it actually, for me, I guess it does sort of mimic the breast shape a little bit, sort of like the flesh sort of moving towards like the nipple area when you like turn it that way. So that's kind of what I see in there. And I like the curves.
Yeah, I could totally see that in that shape that you're describing. It's almost like there's like a heaviness. I like the word that you used, like fleshy. I think of that whenever I see flowers, I'm like, ooh, you're so meaty. Like I just Any final comments before I move on to the next piece?
Well, I'm glad it turned out the way it did. You're bringing some of the comments I heard. I just was just focusing when I was taking the picture. I was focusing on dead center on it, and I didn't see the other shapes or anything else. I just thought flower, and this instantly struck me as feminine. So I guess the heart shape, I didn't see it consciously, but subconsciously it must have resonated with me. I just wasn't aware of it.
That's the value of sharing our artwork in community, right? People get to reflect back to us so much more dimension and nuance and depth, things that just magically came together that we didn't even know. Bunny, can you take us into the next piece? Thank you for submitting that. Ooh, Barb, Heffron, and Ron. Would you like to speak on this piece?
Yeah, that's me. Okay, so I'm physically male. I identify as male. I think of myself as male. And yet I don't actually act entirely male. At least there's certain things that when a group of guys get together who know each other, they sort of engage in a verbal banter. And I don't do that. And when they're around, when they see women, they behave a certain way, and I don't do that. When I took psychology a few decades ago, they said something really interesting, which was that people who are psychologically androgynous are more well adapted than people who are 100% stereotypically male or 100% stereotypically female. So anyway, in the photo there, that's me in the lower right, trudging forward, I guess, through life. Anyway, up in the sky. On the left there is Hermaphroditus, the Greek god who is both male and female. Directly ahead of me, and my apparent destiny, is toxic masculinity. But you'll notice that the path I'm on curves to the left.
Ron, do you mind if I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
Did you choose this path curving to the left? Did it just happen to be a circumstance, or was it just kind of coincidental?
This photo is I think 6 years old. I was looking for, I don't have a lot of photos of me, and this is the body positive group, so I was sort of looking for a nude, and so I was looking through the few I had, and I thought, well, this is good. It shows me on a path. And I sort of knew what I wanted to put in the sky, and then I noticed the path curving to the left. I thought, oh, well, of course, that makes this perfect.
Oh, that's awesome. So this is a relatively new piece of work then.
Yeah, I just did it a couple of days ago.
Oh, incredible. Thank you so much for sharing it with us. There's also something else that I heard you say. Was it psychologically androgynous?
Psychologically androgynous was the term they used in psychology.
Oh, could you, if you don't mind, explain what that means?
Well, androgyny is containing attributes of both male and female. And so what they were saying in psychology is that being extremely male or extremely female apparently doesn't give you all of the skills you need to get through life. You need a little balance in your life. And there are people who are extremely male or extremely female. And apparently the psychologists have figured out that as a group, they tend to be less well adapted than those of us who are able to embrace both sides, even if just a little bit.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. I imagine that was, like to watch language evolve over time. And now I forget where I had listened to this, but there was the quote, the most wounded men live in women's bodies and the most wounded feminines live in men's bodies, because of the way, like you're describing, right? There's these somehow masculinity has ritualized only certain bonding techniques that are like really restrictive, that don't really allow you to access your inner feminine, when the reality is that you're absolutely correct. There's like their inner masculine, the inner feminine, and the divine child in every person, right? Your inner child. What is shadow work? What is inner child work? Like, it's because we don't address all of these aspects of ourselves. That's something that's like comes up a lot in the spiritual communities that I've studied with. And I love that premise for trying to find balance.
Zul put an interesting comment in the chat, and my apologies if I'm saying that wrong. The man in this artwork is totally lost in the worries, and he isn't able to find the beauty and happiness around him. I thought that was a really interesting way of seeing this.
I wanted to add something else too. My first impression on Ron's photo here was when I said in the chat it was very Romanesque because of the figure of Aphrodite and also of the two men brawling. I immediately thought of like the Roman gladiatorial contests, and this kind of looks like an engraving I saw once of like a Roman gladiatorial battle, and that was the very first thing that just came out at me.
Yeah, those are both good comments.
It might be my ecosexuality talking, but I kind of love that, like, the thing that my eye is drawn to, the, like, almost immediately in this, maybe because of the shape and color, but like the tree / bush that's there. It's like my eye is drawn to that, and then it kind of goes around to Ron and then like up and then over in terms of like where my eyes go in this photo. And I think that's interesting because like the first thing I see is like, oh, nature, oh, human nature, oh, it can be kind of violent, but oh, it has like all of these multitudes within it. So like I see that, and like that's my like process of going through.
The tree is definitely the central figure there. I guess it's the thing, is sort of the gravity that all these other things are around. So that's it's an interesting comment there. Also, it's yeah, since the path curves around the bush, although then it continues off to the left. But I mean, it's definitely a central thing in that environment and in the photo.
It almost makes me feel like a connection between, because the violence is also the only dark figure, and then the hermaphrodite and you are pale and sort of like a highlight in the image. It's almost like a connection between like a wound in the landscape, so to speak, like this black hole that sort of like is right like next to and mirroring the shadow of the violence. Like, oh, that's the way it imprinted on me, but it doesn't have to be that way. I'm choosing something else, because as we circle through, the image ends sort of on that upper left-hand corner. Yeah, I love this piece. Thank you. All right. Last 5 seconds because we went over a minute. Anybody want to share their final thoughts or feelings about this piece before we move on?
I just want to shout out, I love that everyone's using the chat as much as communicating verbally with each other. This is awesome. Y'all are such a great group. Oh my goodness. Raquel, would you like to share on your piece?
I think I'm unmuted. Yeah. Well, I actually struggle a lot to actually what to submit. I actually submitted right very at the end, not my usual. And I actually would like to do a bit opposite over here, like you guys, if you want to comment, because for me, I'm very unsure on this topic and specifically. So if it aligns in the end, I will pop in.
Do you mind if I ask you questions? So what made you decide on this image?
Well, to be honest, I kind of lately am still arguing in my head what it means, feminine side and male side. And I wanted something that was kind of neutral at the same time, that could be on the middle ground. So therefore, I went for very short hair, and also the fact that I was with the eyes closed, actually, because I tend actually to be more, let's say, smooth, relaxed, calm if I'm taking photos with the eyes closed or looking away, because I tend to be more very aggressive if when the looking direct into the camera, and that wasn't what I intended with this one. I wanted more like calm, relaxed.
I love you're perceiving in this image to be masculine and feminine. Like the gesture of the eyes closed, if I understand correctly, are more feminine in the way that you're seeing that or expressing that.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's cool. And then you're saying the shorter hair is what you're expressing as masculine?
Not masculine, actually. Here it was more as neutral ground, because I actually, now that it's growing, I have tendency to actually feel more masculine now than actually when it was this short. So here it was very neutral ground.
Oh, wow, that's really interesting. So as you're experiencing your hair growing out, it feels more masculine. Can you spend some time extrapolating on that?
I don't know. I suppose it gives me, it's been very more on the flexible side, and on the how I can actually like mold my face into it with the hair. Sure, it's still on the short side, and it will go shorter again soon, but it allows me to mold my face in a way that I perceive sometimes on a more masculine side. Here, I actually saw myself as me, Raquel, kind of genderless. As I still don't know how to put it in the right way, and lack of words probably in English doesn't help as well. But yeah.
You're doing such a great job. Thank you, Raquel. These topics are so difficult to get down to because a lot of times we're discovering the language as we're answering and asking questions. And so your process here of answering is that, and it's been really helpful because I often struggle with similar things as one person who shaved their head before and I've often rocked short hair. Like hearing your experiences helping me understand how I perceive femininity all in relation to hair on my own head. It's wild.
I actually thank you for sharing that, but I'm actually remembering a movie that I saw not long ago, that the name was something like, it was hair related, I don't remember. And actually, if I remember, I will share with you guys somewhere on Instagram or something. But actually it was because of how strict the person was. It was a very femme persona, but how strict she was on taking care of the hair, on all the social heaviness because of the hair, and until the point that she kind of had a bad time crashing and she just shaved it off. And the moment she did it and she started to like actually be more herself, very feminine anyway, but it was like she break free from the strings of society that was involving hair, and she just like, I don't care anymore, it's just hair. So if I remember the movie, I will send it, but it actually made me think a lot also because of hair.
I love that, Raquel. That's what I see in this image. Like the fact that they are, and hearing you like answer and develop more about like your relationship to the hair and how that's coming into play. I totally see that, like, because the flowers are fake. So
Yes,
it's
yes.
sort of like,
I didn't have.
yeah, but I love it because it works, right? Because it's sort of like it is like you in your neutral self, like up against like, oh, this was what I was told femininity had to be, and can I soften my relationship to that and sort of like, you know, not allow it to control
I
me?
actually decided to cover it on purpose here. It was with thought. I didn't want like that they were showing. I wanted them to be close because at the time, now I'm not on that. This is almost a year ago, but at the time I was like, I don't want my boobs to show because that's not the intention here. Right now I would be like, I don't care that much, but I did wanted a neutral version. So yeah, boobs were like, okay, let's cover them because I have bigger ones. So I always have the problem of like, yeah, femme because of this. And even with weight lately, it was even worse because, well, they got even bigger. So for me, sometimes to actually like not be perceived as a woman, I'm okay with it, but sometimes I do like I don't know if the word cringe is the right word, but it's just because sometimes it's like, okay, I know that they hear and know I do perceive myself as femme time to time, but it's like, can we just forget about them sometimes? So yeah, here it was thought of like covering. Probably this time I would not having a problem with that. It's like, it's crazy, like it was like a year and yeah, so much already, like it's not same thought, but yeah, that's all. And I'm not even reading the comments after to not take more time. So
That's so brilliant. Yeah, I love how Bunny mirrored like feeling more calm and relaxed when not looking at the camera. I always tell people to like, you know, like don't try to hold eye contact. Like too much of this, it's weird. It would be weird if we were in conversation and I like didn't blink for 6 minutes, right? Like, so don't, you know. Um, Zool said, relaxed, cool, calm, amazing presentation in this picture. Great work. And Rory mentioned, wow, so the hair played a role in limiting her self-expression or authenticity. Thanks for sharing. And we got to see you sort of without that limiting your self-expression or authenticity as well. I love that. What a powerful piece. Thank you so much for submitting this. Does anybody else want to share their experience or thoughts about anything that Raquel shared or their relationship to hair and femininity or anything like that before we move on?
I relate a lot to the hair part that you talked about. The movie you were talking about, I don't see myself as very feminine, but I had long hair for a long time. And then when I chopped it off, I was like, oh, wow, this is amazing. Why did I have long hair? Like it was holding me back. So I really related to that. And I like your choice of this picture with the short hair because it's of like a neutral gender kind of expression, which I appreciate because I feel similarly. I'm like, if I have no hair, then maybe people won't like push femininity onto me, hopefully.
Yeah, I like the inclusion of things that, or elements, I should say, that people stereotypically associate to be specifically male or specifically female, like incorporated into one space to show that neutrality and beauty. I think that's what I love about it. It's just, I mean, there's beauty in both, but I think a lot of the times people have expectations that if it's supposed to be a masculine representation, it has to meet these certain points. And if it's a feminine representation, it has to meet these certain points, instead of it just being, oh, hey, it's beauty in its own with hitting points from both of those categories. So I think you did great with that here. So
I love it. All right, Bunny. What do we have next? Submission from Alexi there. Would you like to speak on your piece?
So there's two, because I had terrible brain fog yesterday and I forgot that I had already submitted one. And so I, at like 10 o'clock last night, I was like, oh no, I didn't do it. And I like rushed to do it. So you get double. So I'd been trying to find photos that had a more nuanced representation of, sorry, I accidentally closed the thingy and now it's gone and it's very distracting. Sorry, very spacey. Right, I was trying to find something more subtle and complex to talk about femininity, but again, aforementioned brain fog. So you end up with very stereotypical, you get very stereotypical femininity instead, which I still love and is beautiful. So the top one is just a very, it's kind of the historic ideal of femininity. It all lounged and billowing skirts and soft fingers. And then the bottom one felt very much like the divine feminine, that it had a very storm goddessy feel to it, which made me think of divine feminine. Anyways, yeah.
Thank you, Alexia, for sharing these. I think they're both really beautiful images. This is something that I shared in the short live that I did. I don't think that there's anything wrong with what we, like, quote unquote, would stereotype as masculine or feminine. I think what can come out of that would have a negative effect is when we limit people to only understanding them or placing them in spots based on those stereotypes. Mm-hmm. So like using visualizations that are stereotypically feminine, if that person aligns with that and they're consenting or want to uphold that, is absolutely okay. It's okay if that exists. We can also use it to have a conversation about why that person applies to that or why they chose to use it. And those are all useful tools. It's just when we see, for example, someone with longer hair and we go, you are feminine, despite what you may tell me or how you experience the world, the end, which is the not okay part. What you're doing here is, from what it appears, feels very much you or an extension of you or a facet of you. So I think these are really beautiful. I especially love the top left. So thank you for sharing these.
You're giving me very like guardian or like majestic and like fearsome in that bottom right, and I love bringing that into the conversation of femininity, because I feel like so much of what we consider to be stereotypical femininity, it has depth that's just not being witnessed most of the time, because like anybody who's ever, I mean, even thought about giving birth, witnessed a birth, or been around or spoken to anybody who's given birth, it's like worse than going to war. So, you know what I mean? There's like that, like power and fury and like the nurturing that comes from rage that is oftentimes left out of discussions of femininity, and what like rites of passage in feminized social circles. It's like the depth is there, it's just not being witnessed a lot of times. And I love that you are bringing that some of that power. Like it's still the premise that Raquel mentioned, right, where the figure isn't looking at the camera, but this isn't like looking away. This is like, I don't have time to look at you. I'm protecting my eggs right now. I'm on a nest. Fuck out of here. Like this one hand has like a ball of lightning in it, like ready to just trash somebody who comes up the cliffside or something. I love it. It's super. I mean, they're both beautiful, but that was what really stuck out to me. Zul said, both of the images are enriched with lots of meanings. Movement of hands is showing the anxiousness, and the eyes are like waiting for someone. I love this. That's so cool. Thank you. Does anybody else want to share their experience with this piece?
I feel most connected to the bottom right one, probably because it's outside. I love the top left one also. Like the light is amazing and your pose is wonderful. The one on the right, like to me, it almost seems like you're like dancing and maybe inviting a storm to come, because it looks kind of a little dark in that like the left corner, the left side. So I'm like, maybe you're like inviting a storm to come and like drench you, or like, you know, maybe water all the crops nearby or something. Like it seemed like, I love the flowing movement of the dress, and to me it is feminiscent of a dance, and it's beautiful.
I love that, Bunny. And yeah, it's between the two, the top one is very much a type of femininity, or an expression of femininity that I like playing with, whereas the bottom one is much more an authentic, that's much more how I experience femininity. And yes, there totally was the hugest storm blowing in, and it was so windy, and there was just these giant storm clouds coming in over the ocean, and it was amazing. And so we had to climb up on the roof and play, despite the fact that we had not been planning on shooting that evening.
Love it. Sometimes the earth is just like, are you going to catch this beauty or what?
Yeah, exactly.
I love in that bottom one, like the one side of the figure, like it seems, even though the fabric is draped, it's like the lines are like super clean. And then over to the other side, you have where it's just very haphazard because the wind is catching it, but it's got all the folds and texture and stuff in there. And I love that. As a hoarder of fabric, it's just like, I don't know, it's super awesome. And it's making a V shape. You know, that's what I really like almost like the vagina. It's very much like that's what I'm seeing with the shape of the fabric. So
And I just saw that Brian said in the chat that this reminds him of the goddess Athena, which is awesome because this was actually taken in Greece. So there was a lot of the goddess Athena energy around.
What a coincidence.
Yeah.
That is so amazing. I'm freaking out. Like, what good intuition.
Clearly, we were channeling the Greek goddess vibes very well.
What beautiful pieces. Thank you for sharing this juxtaposition. We got extra lucky. Thank you, Brain Fog, for treating us so nicely. All right, Bunny, are we ready for the next piece? Ooh, Cecilia and Doug. Would you like to share with us?
Hey there. So I guess, I chose these 3 images. I wanted to choose the same model. I debated for a long time whether to even submit anything for this particular thing, because my struggle with femininity has been deep and long. For as a teenager and a young man, I tried to get as far away from femininity as possible, to the point I joined the military, went off to war. And then in college, I was studying history, which was mostly about war, when you think about it. But in college, I started college as a very uber masculine man, focused on how to be more manly, and I was kind of conservative. And then by the end time I finished college, I was married or getting married. I was had come back from war, and I was starting to embrace non-masculine things. I start beginning to accept it. I also switched my major to anthropology, so I get a cultural understanding of lots of things, including how femininity, masculinity are really defined culturally, right? When I was younger, femininity was mostly associated with appearance and the stereotypical American things that are loaded onto femme bodies, and to based on appearance and softness and vulnerability and all that sort of stuff. However, as I, and so now, though, as I've become an author, as I've become a parent, as I became a spouse, and over the last couple of decades, I've definitely been embracing more of my inner feminine aspects as well. And so I chose these 3 images, and they really have 3 iconic feels to them, in the sense of the one in the top left of the screen is mysterious. The one on the bottom is more like wild fierceness, and then on the right, it's magical. And so those are 3 aspects that I assign that to me have femininity aspects to them, not solely, of course, but those are the aspects of femininity that for me have stayed with me all through my life. And they're aspects that I want to explore in my art, in my writing, because I just don't, because I don't want to, I don't assign or look into femininity now based on appearance or based on, I wait to see how people express themselves, how they want to be seen, how they want to be embraced or whatever. And so, I've worked with Cecilia 3 different times. So these images are actually taken from 3 different distinct shoots. And I was looking for images within each one that would kind of reflect these aspects that I wanted to explore. And it was so powerful and so great to work with Cecilia. And another reason I chose the work I've done with her is because she identifies as feminine, and and other models I've worked with are non-binary and such like that. And I didn't want to pull any images from those folks without discussing it and say, this is kind of what I see as sort of femininity. But Cecilia does identify that way. And, but I don't, so for me, it's all about trying to find, I don't explore the stereotypical femininity aspects in my art. I try to go for finding those deeper things like mystery and magic and fierceness. So
Thank you, Doug. That was really cool. That's so awesome to see so many different images and so many different facets of how you're sharing femininity. Ron said fire is critical to the creation process. I think of a creation as a feminine act. This is so cool. And Alexia said, I really love that you're respecting and thinking of the experience of your model so much in your choice of photo.
Thank you. Yeah, it was really important to me that if I was going to try and represent any aspect of femininity, that it be, if it's going to be visual art, that it be from somebody who identifies that way.
Well, there's one thing. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
There's one thing I wanted to mention, Doug. It's what you said at the beginning about being perceived, things being perceived as masculine. This is something I've been thinking a lot of since the pandemic began, toxic masculinity in a way. It's like, you know, like there's a fear of being perceived by men as being perceived as being feminine, because feminine being associated with weakness, not power, strength. And it's and that's just one of the things that I've really seen, like with the pandemic. A good example of the fear of being perceived as feminine is like toxic masculinity playing like not wearing a mask and stuff. And I just saw an article yesterday about how toxic masculinity was kind of responsible for the spread of COVID in the US. And what you said at the beginning there, Doug, really just resonated with what I just recently read and some of the thoughts I've had 1 year into this.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I do want to acknowledge that femininity and masculinity are separate from gender, and that each of us do embody those, like some of each of those qualities, regardless of the way that we identify. And at the same time, for people who have been socialized as female and who have had to live as women and been socialized in that way, femininity, because as Raquel mentioned, we often are not given a choice, and that we are often subjected to, you know, as you're describing, Brian, like everyone is being sort of like subjected to punishments for femininity, for you know, people who are, you know, non-binary, gender fluid, or discovering alternate ways of identifying other than just what they were given at birth. It can be painful to have these perceptions be out of our control. So I really appreciate, Doug, your awareness around, like, yes, you have worked with all these different people, and femininity and masculinity might show up in different shoots with people that are of that. But if you're choosing something to represent femininity, you're making a choice to try and, you know, give people integrity and self-control and autonomy in terms of like how they want to identify and be seen. And that's a level of, you know, caretaking for our collaborators that not all artists go to. So, you know, I just want to like appreciate you for being out here setting a great example in the art world and making kick-ass art. Like, it literally looks like Cecilia is riding the fire.
Yeah.
Like, that fire is made of her legs. And I am like, that board looks like a doorway. It looks like I'm about to be reborn. A lot happening. I love it.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I was really proud of each of these images too, and they were some of the best images from the various shoots that I've done with her. And so it's, you know, but yeah, it was really, really important for me that I even considered presenting art, or where the model was somebody who didn't identify as feminine, that I would have to reach out to them and engage in a conversation before I use it to represent femininity. And so that's why, and then when I say, well, Cecilia identifies that way, and we've done so many different things together, and they represent so much of this, the Fae project that I do, I figured, you know, I wanted to stick with the same model for each of the different aspects, you know, because she looks so different in some of these too, you know, so.
Yeah, thank you for like making the intention to try and build that like dimension and nuance as well. That's really good too. Does anybody want to share any final thoughts before we go on to the last piece?
I really love the shadow that's, you know, being cast on the wall behind her in that first one, almost as if there's like this other entity or person that's like there, that, you know, I don't know if it's sort of a shielding, or that person that's just like there, that it's like almost a representation of like who they really are, that's like in the shadows, so to speak. But I just thought that was cool, because you can't, in that one, you actually can't see her ear. So it almost looks like it's like a different person.
Right.
And not, you know, and not her.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Which is cool.
I love that you brought that up, Gazelle, because it does really add to the mystery of that image. It really does. And I think if I had to pick a favorite image, it would probably be the one with the fire, because it just seems it's so powerful and like could be a portal, and I definitely get magic in all of these images.
Thank you.
I love that you said portal. Sorry, Doug, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I love that you said portal, Bunny, because I was thinking Stargate with that top left one, when the big giant like gate that they enter and exit with that light that is surrounding Cecilia.
Thanks. I will say with the top left image there, now that was when we were using white light. We did also a pink light and a green light, and all those images came out so different, and the different vibes just from the colors that came from it. So cool. And yeah, we just kept it to this one space on her wall in her home when we were doing the remote shoot. And so we have hundreds of images of the different colors and the different poses, the way that she poses her body. Because yeah, she is such a cool dancer and very athletic with her poses. And so and the shadow played a huge role in all of them. So it's just amazing stuff.
The narrative that this triad of photos has built for us is really beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, Bunny, are we ready for the next one?
That was our last art piece. Our next one is an invitation to our conversation next week.
Yeah. We have Earthy Ava joining us again.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to hear her speak and share her experience. We appreciate all of y'all, your time and energy, and not only processing and digesting what we're seeing and how we experience the world around us and what we're creating. Y'all make this community possible by every time that you submit your artwork or are here discussing art with us and sharing your experiences. Lior or Bunny, we didn't really discuss how we might do this next part, so does anyone want to take that on?
Are you talking about the super secret decision about July?
If you wiggle your eyebrows a little bit more, then I'd be on board. What do you? Yes, the super secret.
Sometimes my eyebrows used to get out of sync and I couldn't get them to like go back. I don't know if that's ever happened.
What?
Anyway, we're going to be switching it up. We're still going to do an art share, regular, traditional, wholesome art share next month for masculinity. And then July, because our topic is perfectionism, we wanted to try something new, spice things up, and we're going to do a different sort of experience for you. Bunny, would you like to give a tiny hint into like what kind of format that might take or what that might look like?
I feel like we're still like feeling into that almost. Like we want it to be like workshop style or like webinar style. And yeah, we've also like kind of been talking about continuing art shares, but doing them on Patreon, like sharing your art on the Patreon together so we can like do it not necessarily in real time, but like whenever anybody's available. So I think like we have a lot of potential possibilities, and we're also open to y'all's input and requests and like ideas too, because we don't want to be like, this is what we're doing and you have to do it like this, because that's
we're going to be doing lots of polls on Patreon. Please be in contact with us. We want to hear your input and let you help us shape this next generation. Also, we're all going to be meeting together. Bunny and Rory are going to come visit me this time in August.
Yeah.
So we're going to do a super cool live event, just like we did the last time that we all got together. And the details of that are still gestating.
Wait, do the super secret.
Oh, wait. The birthday party? The birthday secret? That is
not really
yeah, we should. That one's less of a secret. We can talk about that. I just want to reiterate so everyone's on the same page. We are moving directions from the art share, not next month. Next month, we will still do the art share. But the following month, we will be doing something different to replace the art share. And generally speaking, these events will be half an hour instead of an hour and a half. So spending less time together, but in a different format. We just wanted to give everyone a heads up about that. And then I'm going to turn it over to Lior to talk about the other secret.
Oh, yeah. So the greatest secret of all is that we want to spend time with you and hang out and be in making community together, be in ourselves, chilling, celebrating this year that we spent together, getting through the wackiest year the world has ever seen. And like bonding and growing and making these beautiful realizations and making meaning and, you know, talking about the aspects of our culture and our lives that we want to shift and change, all those beautiful things. So we have our birthday party on our 1-year anniversary of starting Going Beyond the Lens. Cuties. And it's this month. And then basically all our content on Patreon is just gonna like be flooded from all of our other events, all the recording, all that sort of stuff. And we're going to be making new stuff all the time. Thank you, Roarie, because you know I was just like, what did this? I don't even remember.
Yeah.
I've been telling people that I was 28 for 3 years. I turned 28 this July. I do not know when this math occurred, but it's never been fixed.
It's okay. So, you were way ahead of your time, and time has finally caught up to you.
Yes. I love that. So come hang out with us.
Well, Going Beyond the Lens wouldn't be possible without everyone that has contributed, who has shown up, who's been here. So thanks to everyone that has participated. It is now 1 year old. Well, I'm a little ahead in a couple of days.
Going Beyond the Lens is a Taurus.
Totally is very grounding. It has been. I love a Taurus.
I wanted to mention something really quick, like Lior, if I may. The Seattle, I've mentioned this before, but as of yesterday, the call for art for the Seattle Erotic Art Festival is opened up.
Yay! We will share that link on our Patreon too.
Yes.
I would love to share any resources for submissions and stuff that y'all find.
Yes, and I showed this to Lior just yesterday. This is a copy of the catalog from 2017's show. And it gives you an idea of the kind of work you can see. And here's a sample of some of the work that was presented there. So this gives you kind of an idea right there. And I think the call for art goes from now until, I believe, mid-July. So if you have something you really would like to share, yeah, here's their website. I'm suffering from brain fog right now. I don't remember their Instagram. So
no worries. We will totally share that. And
I think we sent a reminder in the...
Amazing. Oh, we did. We also sent out that reminder in the mailer.
Mm-hmm.
All right, y'all. Thank you so much for contributing all of your thoughts and feelings and honesty and authenticity to our space and your artwork. We love you. We're excited to celebrate this thing that we made together on the 18th. Please come.
Before we officially end, I saw in the chat that Alexia had another thought about the pieces that she showed. She says she likes the two of them together because they show a big range of femininity. The one is soft and still and serene, whereas the other is wild and powerful. Femininity can contain multitudes. So I thought that was really awesome. I wanted to make sure everyone...
What a mic drop. Thank you for circling back to that. I wouldn't have soaked that in fully. Wow. And on that note, I feel
yeah. So talk to us about what you would like to see in the future, event-wise, topic-wise, like ideas of things. Like, what do y'all want to do together? Let us know. We love the feedback.
Funny, switch to the next slide so they can see the survey, please. That's where we can get feedback for what things we want to do in the future.
Funny, can you drop that link in the chat as well?
Topics are important to you all, and wait. Oh, Lior, you're so smart. So on top of it.
So here's a link to the survey, and then also link to the event next month. next week, the Femininity conversation event.
Yeah, that's
Next month.
next time.
Yeah, the 23rd.
Art is about all kinds of stuff we passed out. I'm really nervous for this one, so
Lior, I'm sure as per usual, your share is going to be amazing. Thank you for offering to be a speaker this month. Just a reminder, Ava is going to be the other guest speaker for Femininity. And then next month we have masculinity, and we'll reveal that at the beginning of next month. What month are we in? June. In June. Thank you again for being here, for sharing your art, your time, energy, and your experiences with us. Much love and appreciation. Out.
Wow.